Hi, I'm Ariel. You're watching She Wants the Diction, and today I'm going to be talking about my favorite books of 2019. And these are just things that I read during 2019, not necessarily things that were published during 2019, although that may be the case for some of them. So I'm going to start off with Animal Farm by George Orwell, which everyone knows what fucking Animal Farm is. Like, I don't need to explain this to you guys. I think most people probably read this during like high school years. Unfortunately, I never did because I got stuck in some kind of like fucky English class where the journalism teacher was actually teaching an English course for like 1 year, and I think everyone else was reading Animal Farm, but for some reason we didn't because she chose like different books for the curriculum. But anyway, so I had never read Animal Farm, and basically my boyfriend told me that it was really good, so he like started reading the copy that I had, like rereading it. And he's like, it's really good, it's really short, it's only like 100 pages, I think you would really like it. I'm like, kind of scoffing, you know, because I'm like, Animal Farm, what the fuck could that even possibly be about? And then, like, I read it, and, like, I started reading, I got sucked in, and, like, finished it really fast, and it's just fucking amazing. Like, I gushed about it on my Instagram, but, like, I mean, it works on the surface level, and then, like, the allegory is amazing, and, like, the overall moral is amazing, like, power and corruption, and just everything that it fucking talks about. Like, yeah, I just absolutely love this. Like, this has to be one of my favorite classics I've ever read, and I really respect, like, the economy of words because it's so short, but I feel like it says so much. Yeah, this was just awesome. If you've never picked up fucking Animal Farm, like, honestly, I am so late to this, but you really should. So, switching gears completely, I am going to talk about Even This Page is White by Vivek Shraya. This is a collection of poetry. As you can tell by the title, it deals primarily with race, specifically being a brown person in a world that is primarily white, and navigating that and struggling with that. And honestly, like, I read this poetry collection like one day in my bedroom in the semi-darkness, and just, I got blown away. Like, literally, I don't remember which poem specifically it was, but somewhere in the middle of this poetry collection, like, I feel like a tear sprang to my eye. Like, I was that impacted. And I think of a line from, I think of a line from the first poem in here like all the time, and it's even the top of the mountain is white. I just feel like that encompasses like so much. Like, I feel like it's saying success is white. Like, every person that you see that is successful is white, and success is made out to be this thing that like white people have. Like, brown people, for the most part, unless you fit a very narrow set of like physical specifications or you're super talented in like singing or sports, like, you won't have success. And I don't know, that just like hit me. Like, a lot of these poems just really like hit me. And I love how like confrontational this title is. Like, she did not back down, and she did not water down the way that she felt for this poetry collection, and I just love it. I love how bold it is. I love how confrontational it is. I love how honest it is, and just like, this is my kind of fucking poetry. Like, I don't know, I absolutely adore this. I know it will not be to everyone's taste because it's not flowery, classical, but if you were looking for an alternative viewpoint on poetry and poems, I feel like this could be a good entry point, especially if you were someone who experiences racism, is brown, is very rightfully angry with the way that you were treated in the world. I feel like this poetry collection could understand you. I think this is a really important author that more people need to be talking about, and this poetry collection especially, like, I had to get it because just wow. Okay, and I'm gonna move on to comics. Comics are something that I only really started digging deeper into this year, and I think a lot of that was because I'm not really interested in superheroes, which is what a lot of comics consist of. That's the kind of storylines that they do. I'm just not really interested or into like the whole superhero story. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's always like, and this might be part of it, is the fact that it's always a white, well-to-do, or like very physically strong man that just like, I don't know, there's nothing about the story really interests me or is new to me. Like, so what I found is that I have to go to like different comics outlets, like not really Marvel and DC type of stuff, but more like smaller comics, presses, whatever you want to call it, imprints, publishers. For example, Image Comics, and they do the comic Saga along with a lot of other things. This is volume 3 that I just happen to have sitting around. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I've read volumes 1 and 2, and I absolutely adore them. I feel like this series has like the perfect tone and like the perfect sense of humor. Not to mention that the art is gorgeous. Like, there's a mix of like drama and sexy times and like sarcasm, and like I just feel like I get like so sucked into them whenever I read them. And yeah, I highly recommend it, especially if you're into like sci-fi, but I even think people who aren't necessarily like big sci-fi fans would be into this. I just feel like it has the perfect mix of everything, and I don't know, I just absolutely love it. Like I love everything about it. Also, checking this out with the librarian was kind of something else. You know, like, you ever just wonder if they're like looking at your books and judging you? Because I'm like, as soon as he put this down, I was like, yikes. Other comics that I've been loving, Princess Ever After. That is more of like a children's comic, but I really, really adored this. I feel like it's the queer fairy tale that like I've just been needing my entire life, like that I didn't know I needed, but it is just so sweet and cute and adorable and amazing. It's just like the fluffiest, most fuzziest thing that you can possibly imagine. So if you're looking for like a queer fairy tale, I would highly recommend that one as well. And then As the Crow Flies by Melanie Gillman, which I've been talking about nonstop on this channel, which is basically about a young queer black kid that has to go to this Christian summer camp, and not only is she like questioning faith and questioning religion and God, but she's also questioning her sexuality. She has questions about like feminism and sexism, and it addresses all of these things in a natural way, I feel like, because especially if you've grown up or grew up in a church or a religious environment, I feel like this could really relate to a lot of teens who like have questions, like, or don't fully accept the things that they're being told to just accept. And I just thought that the environment that it was set in, like a summer camp, I feel like that's, you know, an environment that you don't really think of for like a comic to be set in, but it worked really well. Like I like things set in nature or involving nature. And another reason that comic is amazing is because it's drawn in all colored pencils, which is something unique for a comic. That comic is from Iron Circus, which is another sort of like, I don't know if it's independent or not, but just a smaller comic sub-publisher that I found a lot of interesting comics from. So if you're not really into the, like I said, the whole superhero stereotype sort of thing, you may still like comics. Like, you might have to look a little bit deeper and find those like side places that are sort of catering to the more alternative or niche tastes, because I thought I didn't like comics either until I started looking into queer comics, and then I really found a lot of things that appeal to me. So if you haven't gotten into comics, I would highly recommend doing that. Okay, let's talk about sci-fi. I've said this already like a million times on my channel, I feel like, but actually most of these books that I'm talking about in this video, I have talked about at some point on my channel, and I will link the videos that are related so that if you're interested in going more in depth, you can check those out. But Annihilation by Jeff VanderMeer, this was the first thing that I read by VanderMeer. I also read Born recently, but I think Annihilation, which is the first book in the Southern Reach trilogy, it really holds a special place in my heart because I connect a lot to the biologist. Again, nature. I mean, I feel like this book, I don't even know how to talk about it because I feel like it speaks for itself that I bought it, because I haven't bought a whole lot of books this year. I'm not a big rereader of books unless I really, really love them. So VanderMeer, I think, is a very strange author. I absolutely like cannot recommend this more if you're into sci-fi or just weird things, scary things, creepy things, any of that sort of stuff. I would definitely check this out because this is a masterpiece. I didn't really love the rest of the series, but this one, just like, just my baby right here. And then the other piece of sci-fi that I read this year that I was really impressed by, the first book in the Xenogenesis series by Octavia Butler, which is called Dawn. Now, again, this is another one where the entire series I didn't really like, but the first book I feel like was really good. Like the way that she sets it up so that you don't know whose side to be on or who's right and who's wrong. Like I feel like she has this incredible ability to create moral dilemmas in her work that is just unparalleled. And also, this is not steeped in like technical sci-fi language. It is not difficult. It's very accessible, which I love. Like that is one of the reasons that I love Ender's Game, is because it's very accessible, even though it is science fiction. So I love that. Same thing with Flowers for Algernon. Like I want sci-fi to be accessible to everybody, even people who don't necessarily read sci-fi all the time. Like it should not be difficult to read, in my opinion. Octavia Butler is just an amazing author. I'm excited to read more of her works in this next coming year, and watching a lot of her interviews because I was so obsessed with her after I finished reading this series. it really made me angry. Even if you just search on YouTube for her interviews, she got interrupted a lot by the people that were interviewing her. A lot of them were really rude to her, and it was just unbelievable, like, seeing the racism play out. But she was not, I feel like she held her head high. She was unflappable. And Black women in sci-fi, writing sci-fi, are still so fucking rare. And I just feel like she was an unappreciated gem. And even though she is such a legend, even outside of like Black writers and Black authors, it is really sad because a lot of, even my local library doesn't have all of her books, which I just found mind-boggling. But I feel like it even endures until today. Like, they will have all of Stephen King's books, but not all of Octavia Butler's. Like, you know, it's just like blows my fucking mind. Like, this woman won like fucking awards out the ass, and like, I don't know how to explain how like angry and frustrated it makes me that she's not as recognized as she should be. But I'm going to get around to the rest of her works this next year. My favorite YA that I read this year. This is hard for me because a lot of YA I feel like is like very forgettable, but two that spring to mind are The Grief Keeper by Alexandra Villasante, I believe, and Summer of Salt. Can't remember the author on that one. These both kind of met my expectations of what YA should be. Summer of Salt, I thought, was, as far as the language, was very well written. I liked how unique a lot of the characters were. Like the girl that makes her own like freaky ice cream flavors and things like that. Like, I thought a lot of the characters were really unique and lovable, even though I thought certain parts of the book kind of dragged. Like, for example, the ending where everyone was saying goodbye, I thought that was stretched out way too long. We don't need 5 different goodbyes to all of these characters. Like, one goodbye would have been enough. With The Grief Keeper, I really liked, I know a lot of people didn't like the relationship in that book, but I really liked how that book moved from this girl taking on this privileged girl's grief because she needs the money to genuinely wanting to take on this girl's grief because she loves her and like has come to empathize and understand her situation. Like, it goes from being a forced thing to like a voluntary thing where she wants to do it. And I just thought that was so like moving, and I thought their relationship was really like real. Like, I could really hear a lot of the dialogue, which I think a lot of the times dialogue doesn't really ring true in YA books, but I could really like hear the voice of this other girl that she was in love with, like, in my head. Like, she felt like a real person because I didn't know every single fucking thing that she was gonna say. So those two I thought were really, really good for YA books and dealt with important issues. Like, Grief Keeper, we had immigration and interracial relationships or multicultural relationships, and then fucking Summer of Salt, I felt like dealt with rape and sexual assault and just like coming of age and all those type of things. So my favorite books that I read during Black History Month, I don't know if this would be a category, but I'm gonna go with Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred D. Taylor, Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, and then Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, which all of these I read during Blackathon. And that's another thing, I participated in a lot more readathons this year, which I found out is something that I really enjoy and I think really encouraged me to read more and go deeper on specific subjects. I don't keep track, like I said, so I don't have stats, but I think this reading year was overall like a really, really good year for me. I find that BookTube motivates me to seek out books and read more books. Like, I feel like before I was just kind of picking out random things of whatever was on the shelf when I went to the library, which is all fun and great, but I didn't find a lot of things that I really loved. And now I feel like I'm more informed on how to find books that I will actually fucking enjoy. Genres and authors and types of things that I like to read. So that has been a really nice perk of being in the book community. And maybe next year I'm gonna try to keep more track of specific things that I'm reading. I feel like I get lazy with Goodreads. Favorite nonfiction, I really didn't pick anything. I think I only read a handful of nonfiction books this year, but I don't feel like any of them are really like my favorites, so I don't really know what to pick. I think that's gonna do it for my favorite books of 2019. I might tack on Freshwater because I think that was another one that I really enjoyed from this year. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next year with another video. Peace.